Hello and welcome back to another Silver Arrow game video. Today I'm recapping the story of Kingdom Come, Deliverance. This is for anyone who hasn't played the game, or maybe it's been a while, and you want a refresher before the release of KC2. Now, of course, my recommendation is to just play the first game. It's excellent. But I also understand that time is short, so I hope this video helps. Also, and I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but this video will obviously contain story spoilers for Kingdom Come, Deliverance, so only watch if you're okay with that. Chapter 1. Unexpected Visit. In the year 1403, amidst the turmoil caused by King Sigismund of Luxembourg's aggression in Bohemia, Henry, a young blacksmith's son, wakes in the silver mining town of Skalitz. His father, a skilled smith named Martin, has been tasked with forging a splendid longsword for Sir Radzig Kobyla, the local lord. Henry spends the morning running errands for his father and playfully bantering with his sweetheart Bianca. But the peaceful day is overshadowed by talk of political unrest in Prague and rumors of Sigismund's mercenary forces ravaging the countryside. Henry's parents encourage him to focus on learning the trade, but he chafes at the idea, dreaming of life beyond the forge. By day's end, he helps Martin complete the sword, unaware that these ordinary tasks will soon be eclipsed by unimaginable violence. Chapter 2. Run! No sooner does Henry's family finish the sword than Skalitz is attacked by Sigismund's forces, which include heavily armed cumans and knights under the command of the ruthless Markvart von Aulitz. Buildings burn, and townsfolk are cut down where they stand. Henry rushes to find his parents, but the castle gates are slammed shut before he can reach safety. He is forced to watch, powerless, as Markvart's men kill his mother and Markvart himself murders Martin. Wounded and driven by his father's final plea to warn others, Henry flees on horseback to Talmberg. Barely alive, he arrives to beg Sir Divish, the lord of Talmberg, to prepare for war. Sir Radzig, who escaped Skalitz in the night, passes Talmberg on his way to Rat-Tataki with the survivors. He commands Henry to stay put. Chapter 3. Homecoming. Though Sir Divish and Sir Radzig both forbid Henry from returning to Skalitz, his grief over leaving his parents' bodies unburied grows unbearable. He slips away from the guards in Talmberg and treks back to his ruined hometown. Skalitz is now a smoldering husk, full of looters and wild animals. With solemn determination, Henry fights off scavengers to reach the corpses of Martin and his mother. In a final act of filial duty, he digs graves under the linden tree by the forge and lays them to rest. Exhausted, Henry is then ambushed by bandits, led by a hulking figure known as Runt, who strikes him down. At the last moment, soldiers from Talmberg, alerted by Theresa, the local miller's daughter, arrive, driving the bandits away and saving Henry's life. Chapter 4. Awakening. Henry drifts in and out of fever dreams for days at the mill, owned by Theresa's uncle, Peshik. Theresa herself, who barely escaped Skalitz, has tended his wounds alongside Peshik. When Henry finally awakens, he learns that his rescuers have racked up substantial costs caring for him. Shaken by nightmares of the slaughter, he clings to the memory of his parents and the knowledge that he has a debt of gratitude and coin to Theresa and Peshik. Despite having lost her home, Theresa remains a source of comfort. Henry begins helping around the mill, determined to regain his strength and to do right by those who saved him. Chapter 5. Training hard, fight easy. Word of Henry's survival reaches Sir Radzig, who summons him to Rattay Castle. Impressed by Henry's spirit and aware that the young man has nowhere else to go, Radzig takes him into his service. However, Henry's first real test is training under Captain Bernard, an uncompromising veteran soldier tasked with whipping new recruits into shape. In the practice yard, Henry struggles to wield a sword as skillfully as he once forged one, but Bernard's relentless training pushes him toward competency. During these sessions, Henry has a run-in with the haughty Lord Capon, who taunts him, starting their relationship on an inauspicious note. Chapter 6. Keeping the peace. To further prove himself, Henry is assigned to assist the bailiff of Rattay in maintaining order. He joins the night watch, patrolling the winding streets and settling minor disputes. While the day-to-day tasks of enforcing the law seem mundane, Henry learns that real combat is not the only challenge facing a soldier. He sees the tensions between refugees from Skalitz and Rattay residents, and his empathy for the displaced people sharpens his resolve to protect the weak. Gradually, his sense of duty expands beyond mere personal revenge, and he begins to appreciate the broader responsibilities that come with serving a lord. His last task for the day is to shut down the town. He attempts to close a tavern where the young Lord Capon is partying, and a fight ensues. Sir Radzig breaks up the brawl and, as punishment, Henry must accompany Capon on his hunting trip the following day. Chapter 7. The Prey. The next morning, Henry reluctantly goes hunting with Lord Capon. Although Capon seems to be an arrogant dandy, Henry soon realizes there's more to the nobleman than meets the eye. When cumans ambush them during a failed boar hunt, Henry bravely fights them off and saves Capon's life, forging a grudging respect between them. Capon, recognizing Henry's courage, begins treating him less like a servant and more like a companion, a shift that proves significant in the trials ahead. Chapter 8. The hunt begins. After saving Capon's life, Henry is rewarded with his first horse, Pebbles. Word arrives that the Neuhof farm has been brutally raided, leaving horses slaughtered and innocent people dead. Sir Radzig dispatches Henry, along with Captain Bernard and a few men-at-arms, to investigate. Henry scours the grisly scene, speaking to traumatized survivors and searching for any clue that might identify the attackers. The evidence suggests that this is not a simple act of banditry, but part of a larger, more coordinated effort. Amongst the carnage, Henry finds tracks leading away from the farm and discovers that at least one of the assailants may have fled in a hurry. Chapter 9. Ginger in a pickle. Suspicion quickly falls on Ginger, a stable hand who disappeared following the raid. Some at Neuhof believe he might have led the bandits to the farm. Henry tracks Ginger into the deep woods, where the frightened man reluctantly admits he recognized one of the attackers, an individual with a pronounced limp. Ginger insists he had no role in the massacre and fled only out of fear that the bandits would silence him if they learned he could identify them. Henry, seeing the genuine fear in Ginger's eyes, believes him and promises to find the limping bandit. Chapter 10. Mysterious Ways. Following Ginger's clue, Henry travels to Uzhitz, searching for anyone matching the description of a limping raider. Uzhitz is a small and insular town, and Henry must carefully interview villagers, innkeepers, and the priest to glean information about strangers. Each conversation reveals a piece of the puzzle. Local folk worry about roving mercenaries, while resentment festers between the impoverished peasants and the wealthy townspeople. Eventually, Henry discovers that the limping man is indeed involved in a broader gang operating in the region. Though the details are fuzzy, a picture begins to emerge of a network of criminals tied to the attack on Neuhof. Chapter 11. On the Scent. Information from Uzhitz, obtained from Father Godwin, the local priest, leads Henry to a man known as Riki, rumored to be part of the Neuhof raiding party. Riki's name alone conjures the image of a reclusive, dubious character, and indeed Henry finds him hiding in a damp cave near the Sasa monastery. Fearful for his life, Riki confesses that multiple bandit groups are mobilizing under the command of a more dangerous leader, an individual with resources and influence far beyond that of petty thieves. Terrified of being hunted down, Riki yields what little information he has to Henry, praying for mercy. Though the details are sparse, Henry senses that something larger is taking shape, with implications that stretch far beyond a single raid. Chapter 12. My friend Timmy. Riki directs Henry to a simple-minded fellow named Timmy, holed up in a windmill south of Merhojed. Timmy is terrified of both the law and the bandits he unwittingly became entangled with. Persuading Timmy to speak requires patience and determination, reassuring him that he won't be executed for accidentally aiding criminals. Finally, Timmy divulges that the main bandit camp responsible for the Neuhof attack lies in a heavily forested area near an abandoned village called Pribyslavitz. This location is said to be teeming with cutthroats under the command of a vicious bandit known only by his nickname, Runt. Chapter 13. A Mess of Vipers. Upon receiving this news, Sir Radzig orders Henry to infiltrate the camp at Pribyslavitz to confirm Timmy's story and assess the bandits' strength. Henry sneaks through the overgrown ruins, counting archers, noting where supplies are stored, and identifying potential ambush spots. The camp is vast, teeming with mercenaries, both Bohemian brigands and Cuman warriors, who answer to Runt. Henry narrowly avoids capture, managing to poison the bandits' food and set fire to their arrows before fleeing under the cover of darkness. Armed with this vital intelligence, he hurries back to Rattay to prepare the lords for a decisive strike. Chapter 14. Baptism of Fire. With Captain Bernard leading a raiding party from Talmberg and Sir Divish, marching forth with Henry and his men, the attack on Pribyslavitz is ferocious. In his first true battle, Henry fights alongside seasoned soldiers as arrows rain down, and the clash of steel echoes through the trees. Amidst the chaos, Henry comes face to face with Runt, the very man who led the ambush that nearly killed him in Skalitz. They battle in the half-ruined church, locked in a personal duel fueled by hatred and vengeance. Henry prevails, striking Runt down in a brutal sword fight. Though the bandits are routed and Pribyslavitz is reclaimed, the victory is bittersweet. Many good men have fallen, and Henry learns that this is but one arm of a far-reaching conspiracy. Chapter 15. Questions and Answers. While Henry and his allies fought at Pribyslavitz, another group of bandits attacked the village of Merhojed, only to be repelled by its determined inhabitants. Remarkably, the villagers managed to capture a wounded bandit. Sir Radzig tasks Henry with interrogating the prisoner, believing he might lead them higher up the chain of command. Arriving in Merhojed, Henry discovers an outbreak of a mysterious illness ravaging the people. Desperate to keep the prisoner alive long enough to talk, Henry scours the region for help and consults a local healer, Johanka, and Brother Nicodemus from the Sasa monastery. Ultimately, they concoct an antidote to save as many as possible. The bandit eventually reveals that they are all working under the orders of a man named Istvan Toth. Though the details remain vague, Henry arrests the prisoner and transports him to Redata for further investigation. Chapter 16. All that glisters. Sir Radzig and Master Fafar examine a large trove of coins that appear legitimate, but are, in fact, counterfeit. This discovery is alarming, as forging currency is high treason against the king. Henry is sent to Sasa to investigate suspicious goings-on in the Skalitz mines and the monastery's foundry, where the silver is being processed. He uncovers evidence of organized counterfeiting, orchestrated by wealthy individuals who are exploiting Sasa's industry. Each conversation and clue further points to Istvan Toth's involvement, suggesting he is financing mercenaries and forging coins to undermine the royal treasury. Chapter 17. Can't beat 'em, join 'em. Rumors abound of crimps, who recruit men for a new bandit army. Henry, instructed by Sir Radzig, attempts to go undercover to learn more about these recruiters and where they send their recruits. Feigning interest in joining, he navigates taverns, back alleys, and clandestine meetings. It becomes a dangerous game of bluffing hardened criminals, as any slip-up could mean a swift death. Yet, Henry manages to learn that the bandit network extends far beyond the obvious, with entire bands funneling fresh blood into hidden training camps. The deeper Henry digs, the clearer it becomes that Taff is orchestrating a coup within this region of Bohemia. Chapter 18. Poverty, Chastity, and Obedience. A crucial lead takes Henry to the Sasa monastery. One of the novices is suspected of being a bandit or conspirator and must be dealt with. To infiltrate the monastery, Henry hatches a daring plan. Realizing he cannot simply barge in wearing armor, he arranges to switch places with a young noble, Sir Karl, who is set to enter the monastery to fulfill a vow. By taking Karl's place, Henry gains legitimate entry to the tightly controlled monastery. He surrenders his weapons, dons the monk's robes, and prepares to ferret out the conspirator, who has sought refuge behind holy walls. Chapter 19. A needle in a haystack. Within the monastery, Henry becomes Brother Gregor, learning to pray, work in the scriptorium, and participate in ceremonies. All the while, he keeps a watchful eye on the other novices, listening for inconsistencies in their stories. Cut off from the outside world, Henry must carefully gather clues to identify the hidden bandit. One mistake could blow his cover and ruin his entire plan. With patience, he zeroes in on the culprit, identifies him through careful observation and deduction, and ultimately chooses to either eliminate him or help him fake his own death. Chapter 20. The die is cast. Having dealt with the bandit hiding within the monastery, Henry leaves and heads to a nearby swamp to meet with the crimps, who are impressed with his successful mission. They invite him to join them. From the crimps, Henry gains a final, decisive piece of evidence. Istvan Toth is gathering his forces at a fortification called Vranik. Sir Radzig sends Henry to scout Vranik to determine the enemy's numbers and, if possible, their plans. However, Henry is captured and tortured by Istvan and his lieutenant, Eric. He escapes with the help of Zibishek, another survivor from Skalitz who had joined the bandits and has since come to regret that decision. The two make their way to Ratai, where Henry informs Sir Radzig of the situation. Chapter 21. Payback. Bolstered by Sir Hanush, Sir Divish, and other nobles like Captain Bernard, who have heeded Sir Radzig's call, Henry marches on Vranik. The fortress is guarded by hardened mercenaries. A pitched battle ensues, and after fierce fighting, the allied knights and men-at-arms manage to break through the gates. Inside, Henry confronts the reality that Istvan is no mere bandit leader. He is well-connected, cunning, and aligned with powerful allies who seek to destabilize the region. Though Vranik falls, Henry learns that Istvan himself slipped away before the battle. The news is dire. Talmberg has been left woefully underdefended in the rush to take Vranik. Chapter 22. Out of the frying pan. Istvan Toth seizes Talmberg Castle through a cunning ruse, pretending to be injured men seeking refuge. Once inside, they capture Lady Stephanie, Sir Divish's wife, and take the castle hostage. In the mad rush back to Talmberg, Sir Radzig attempts to cross the moat and stop Istvan, but he is overwhelmed and taken hostage. Now Istvan holds two noble captives, several castle staff, and has secured the castle for himself. Chapter 23. Night Raid. Knowing that a direct assault on the castle walls will be costly and likely to fail, the nobles hatch a plan for a stealth mission. A small group, including Henry and Sir Hanush, will scale the castle walls under the cover of darkness to rescue Lady Stephanie and Sir Radzig. Slipping past guards and creeping through corridors, Henry's party locates some hostages, but cannot find Sir Radzig or Lady Stephanie, who are being held deeper within the castle. The alarm is raised, and in the ensuing chaos, Sir Hanush is shot in the leg with an arrow. Henry manages to help him escape the walls and return to the relative safety of the siege camp. Chapter 24. Siege. Realizing a swift victory is now impossible, the Allied forces establish a siege camp around the town. Setting up palisades, tents, and workshops, Henry coordinates with Sir Robard and Sir Divish to gather supplies, recruit archers, and commission a trebuchet to breach the walls. This period tests Henry's leadership, as he must convince a skilled engineer to join them and negotiate the delivery of vital supplies. As the weeks drag on, the thunder of carpenters building the trebuchet underscores the inevitability of a bloody confrontation. Istvan will not negotiate. Chapter 25. Cold steel, hot blood. An urgent message arrives. Istvan has called in reinforcements from a neighboring lord, and they are mere hours away. Henry leaves the camp with a detachment of men under the command of Sir Robard. They ambush the reinforcements on the road and defeat them, but then receive word that the siege camp is also under attack. Chapter 26. Family values. Henry and his allies race back to the siege camp to find it under attack by Istvan's allies, who are attempting to destroy the trebuchet. Leading the defense, Henry fights tooth and nail to protect the war machine. Sir Hanush, still recovering from his injury, fights alongside Henry and the others to defend the trebuchet. They successfully defeat and capture Eric, Istvan's lieutenant, who led the attack. With the assault repelled, Henry interrogates Eric, learning more about Istvan Tuth and realizing that they could use Eric as a bargaining chip. Chapter 27. An oath is enough. With the trebuchet finally ready, the allied nobles send Toth an ultimatum: release the hostages and surrender Talmberg, or face bombardment. Istvan refuses. They also offer to exchange Eric for Lady Stephanie and Sir Radzig, but Istvan, knowing that the hostages are all that stand between him and certain death, again refuses. At dawn, the Great War Machine hurls massive stones at the castle walls, shaking Talmberg to its foundations. When a breach opens, Henry and the nobles lead the final assault. Swords clash in the smoky ruins of the courtyard, as Toth's men mount a desperate defense. Amidst the chaos, Henry fights his way to the highest tower, hoping to find Lady Stephanie and Sir Radzig alive. Istvan, however, has one last bargaining chip. He threatens to kill both Lady Stephanie and Sir Radzig, unless he is allowed to walk free. Chapter 28. Vengeance. In a tense standoff, Istvan holds a blade to Lady Stephanie's throat and warns Henry that Sir Radzig is also in mortal danger. The besiegers have little choice but to negotiate. Henry, Sir Divish, and Sir Hanush reluctantly allow Istvan to depart in exchange for Lady Stephanie's freedom and the eventual safe return of Sir Radzig. Although Talmberg is liberated, Henry's triumph is marred by fury at seeing the culprit behind so many atrocities walk away. In the aftermath, Sir Divish and Lady Stephanie share an emotional reunion, and a wounded but alive Sir Radzig quietly acknowledges Henry as more than just a faithful retainer. He is, in truth, his son. Istvan escapes with Henry's sword, leaving a bitter taste of unfinished business. Chapter 29. Epilogue. With Istvan Toth and his mercenary army scattered, Henry and the nobles are visited by Jobst of Moravia, a powerful nobleman and cousin to King Wenceslas IV, who is attempting to secure an alliance of nobles to resist Sigismund. Henry and Sir Hanush are tasked with delivering a letter to a nearby lord, Divish of Talmberg, at Trotsky Castle. The game ends with Sir Hanush, Henry, and a small retinue riding off toward Trotsky Castle, leaving the future of Bohemia uncertain. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, please can you like and subscribe?